You are on HOA checkmate. I stayed calm and let her talk. I am standing in my driveway at 7 in the morning, and Laura Robinson is screaming at me about a parking violation I did not commit. She is waving a bright orange violation door hanger in my face, the same one that has appeared on my door 3 times in the last month, and she is telling me my truck is getting towed in 20 minutes unless I pay $200 right now. I work pest control, I keep detailed service logs for every job, and I know for a fact my truck was not parked illegally on any of the dates she is claiming. Laura is the finance committee lead for the Millstone Terrace Association here in Portland, Maine. She is middle-aged, always dressed like she is about to fire someone, and she has a portable radio earpiece she taps whenever she wants you to know she is connected to people who matter. Right now, she is tapping it like she is calling in an airstrike. This conversation is not a debate. It is a directive, she says, her voice loud enough that a neighbor 2 houses down is peeking through their blinds like this is a show. You either pay the fine, or the tow company takes your vehicle and you deal with impound fees on top of it. I stay calm. I pull out my phone and open my work calendar. I show her the timestamps. On the first violation date, I was in South Portland doing a termite inspection that ran until 10 at night. On the second date, I was in Westbrook spraying a commercial kitchen. On the third date, I was home, but my truck was in my driveway the entire time, not on the street. I have photos. I have GPS logs. I have client signatures. She does not even look at the screen. That is not relevant, she says. The notices were issued based on credible reports, and the association does not owe you an investigation. If you have a problem with the process, you can file a formal appeal, but the fine stands until the board reviews it, and the board does not meet again for 6 weeks. I ask her who filed the reports. She says that is confidential. I ask her for a copy of the rule she is citing. She pulls a folded rule packet in a plastic sleeve out of her blazer pocket and flips to a page without showing me. Section 4, subsection C, she says. No overnight street parking between November and March. Your vehicle was observed in violation on 3 separate occasions. I point out that my truck was in my driveway, not on the street. She says the driveway is considered part of the street right-of-way under the association's definition. I ask her to show me that definition in writing. She says she does not have to, because the rule is clear and the violation is recorded. Go ahead and call whoever you want, she says. I have a committee for that. She turns and walks away, her sun hat bobbing, and I am left standing there with a violation notice that does not match reality and a tow threat that is supposed to execute in 15 minutes. The calm, still air makes every word feel louder, and I can hear her shoes on the pavement all the way to the corner. I know this is not about parking. This is about control. And I know because 2 months ago, a neighbor told me they paid a fine years ago just to make Laura stop harassing them, and they never found out what the fine was actually for. That neighbor is named Ed. He is retired, he used to be on the HOA board, and he warned me that Laura has been running the same play for at least 3 years. He said the association issued violation notices to people who questioned her line-item additions to the budget, and most of them paid because fighting it felt like more trouble than it was worth. He said he regrets not pushing back, because now he thinks she was backdating paperwork to make the violations look legitimate. He did not have proof, but he told me to keep records if she ever came after me. So I did. And now I have 3 notices that do not match my service logs, and I have 15 minutes to stop a tow. I call the tow company. The dispatcher says they have an authorization from the Millstone Terrace Association to remove my vehicle at 7:30. I ask who signed the authorization. He says Laura Robinson. I ask if he has a copy of the violation report. He says he does not need one, because the HOA sent the work order and that is enough. I tell him I have proof the violation is false, and I am filing a police report if they proceed. He pauses. He says he is going to call the HOA back and confirm. He hangs up. I do not wait. I grab my laptop, my work binder, and my phone, and I drive to the association management office on Congress Street. It is a small suite in a commercial building, and the receptionist looks surprised to see me. I tell her I need to speak to someone about a fraudulent towing authorization. She says the property manager is not in yet. I say I will wait. She says the manager does not handle individual violations, and I need to go through the board. I say the board does not meet for 6 weeks, and my truck is about to get towed in 10 minutes, based on a lie. She picks up the phone. She calls someone. A minute later, a man in a polo shirt comes out. He introduces himself as the portfolio manager. I show him the notices and my service logs. I show him the timestamps. I show him the GPS data. I tell him Laura Robinson authorized a tow based on violations that did not happen, and I need the work order canceled immediately. He frowns. He says he does not issue tow authorizations. The board does. I say Laura is not the board. She is one committee lead. He says she has signing authority for enforcement actions under the association's bylaws. I ask to see the bylaw. He says he does not have a copy here. I ask to see the violation reports. He says those are filed with the board secretary, and he does not have access. I ask him how he is supposed to manage the property if he does not have access to enforcement records. He does not answer. He just looks uncomfortable. I realize he is not the problem. He is the buffer. Laura has set up a system where the management company takes the heat, but she controls the paperwork. I leave the office and call the tow company again. The dispatcher says they are still waiting for confirmation from the HOA. I tell him I am filing a complaint with the city if they proceed without verifying the violation. He says that is between me and the HOA. I say it is also between him and the state if he tows a vehicle based on fraudulent paperwork, and I have proof. He says he is going to hold off until the HOA provides documentation. I say good. He hangs up. It is now 8 in the morning. I drive back home. My truck is still in the driveway. There is no tow truck. I check my doorbell camera footage from the last month. I scroll back to the first violation date, and I find something. At 2 in the morning, Laura Robinson is on my porch. She is holding a clipboard, and she is leaning close to my doorbell camera like she is checking to see if it is recording. Then she pulls a door hanger out of her bag, fills in the date and time with a pen, and sticks it on my door. She does the same thing on the second violation date. And the third. Every single notice was placed in the middle of the night, hours after I got home, and she is filling in the timestamps on the spot. I save the clips. I export them. I send them to my email, my cloud storage, and a thumb drive. Then I start digging into the cold case Ed told me about. He said he paid a fine 2 years ago for a landscaping violation that never happened. He said Laura told him his lawn was over 6 inches tall, but he had just mowed it the day before. He paid $200 to avoid a lien, and he never got a receipt. I ask him if he still has the notice. He says he threw it away. I ask him if he remembers the date. He says it was late April, 2 years ago. He thinks it was around the 20th. I go to the association's online portal. Every homeowner is supposed to have access to their violation history, but when I log in, my account shows 0 records. I call Ed and ask him to log in. His account also shows 0 records. I call another neighbor, someone who told me last year they got fined for leaving their trash bins out past noon. Her account is empty too. Someone has scrubbed the portal. I file a public records request with the city clerk. I ask for all violation notices issued by the Millstone Terrace Association over the last 3 years, including the dates, the rule citations, and the names of the issuing authority. The clerk says HOA records are private unless they involve liens or legal filings. I ask if the association has filed any liens in the last 3 years. She checks. She says yes. 2. I ask for copies. She prints them. Both liens are for unpaid fines issued by Laura Robinson, and both are from 2023. One is for a landscaping violation. One is for unauthorized parking. Neither lien lists the specific date of the violation, just the date the fine was assessed. The homeowner names are redacted, but I recognize one of the addresses. It is Ed's house. I call Ed. I tell him Laura filed a lien against him 2 years ago. He says that is impossible because he paid the fine. I ask him if he has proof of payment. He says he gave her cash. I ask him if he got a receipt. He says no. She told him the payment would show up on his account within a week, but it never did. And when he called the management company, they said they had no record of the fine or the payment. This is a shakedown. Laura is issuing fake violations, collecting cash payments that never get recorded, and then filing liens when people push back or stop paying. She is using the management company as a firewall, and she is backdating paperwork to make it look legitimate. And now she is doing it to me, except I did not pay, so she escalated to towing. I need more proof. I go back to the doorbell footage and I check the timestamps against the violation dates on the notices. Every single notice was placed at least 6 hours after the alleged violation time. Laura is filling in the timestamps after the fact, not based on observation. I check my service logs and cross-reference them with my truck's GPS data. On every violation date, my truck was either off-site or in my driveway, never on the street. I screenshot everything. I build a timeline. I put it in a binder with tabs. Then I check the rule packet Laura quoted. I find a copy of the association's CC&Rs online, and I search for Section 4, subsection C. The section exists, but it does not say what Laura claimed. It says no overnight street parking between November and March, but it defines the street as the public right-of-way only, not private driveways. And there is a note at the bottom of the page that says this rule was proposed in 2019, but never formally adopted by the membership. The vote failed. The rule is not enforceable. I let her call my bluff, because she did not realize I was not bluffing. I call my attorney. I tell him I have proof of fraud, and I need to move fast because Laura is trying to escalate. He says he needs one more document today, a certified copy of the rule adoption records from the association, because if the rule was never adopted, every violation issued under it is void. He says the HOA is probably stalling to run out the clock, and I need to get that document before they can manufacture a new version. I drive back to the management office. The receptionist sees me coming and her face goes pale. I tell her I need a certified copy of the rule adoption records for Section 4, subsection C of the CC&Rs, and I need it today. She says that is a board document, and she does not have access. I say the state requires associations to maintain those records and provide them on request. She says she will ask the manager. She picks up the phone. A minute later, the portfolio manager comes out again. He looks tired. He says the adoption records are stored off-site, and it will take at least a week to retrieve them. I say that is not acceptable, because I am being threatened with a tow and a lien based on a rule that may not exist. He says he understands my frustration, but he does not have the authority to expedite the request. I ask him who does. He does not answer. I realize he is telling me the records do not exist, but he cannot say it out loud. I pull out my phone. I show him the doorbell footage of Laura placing the notices in the middle of the night. I show him the timestamp mismatches. I show him the rule adoption note that says the vote failed. I tell him I am filing a complaint with the State Attorney General's office for fraud and harassment, and I am CCing his company on it unless he can produce the adoption records right now. He stares at the screen. He says he needs to make a call. He goes into the back office. 5 minutes later, he comes out with a file folder. He says he found the adoption records. He opens the folder. Inside is a blank piece of paper with a signature line at the bottom. The signature is Laura Robinson's. The date is blank. There is no vote tally. There is no meeting notice. It is a template, not a record. I take a photo of the blank page. I thank him for his time. I leave. I call my attorney and send him the photo. He says this is fraud, and it is prosecutable. He says he is drafting a demand letter to the association and the management company, and he is filing a complaint with the state. He says I need to present the evidence publicly before Laura can pivot, and the best way to do that is at the next board meeting. I tell him the next meeting is in 6 weeks. He says we are not waiting that long. He is going to request an emergency meeting, and if they refuse, he is going to file for an injunction. I hang up. I sit in my truck. I think about Ed and the other neighbors who paid Laura off just to make it stop. I think about the blank adoption records and the doorbell footage and the scrubbed portal. This is not just about me. This is a pattern, and I am going to break it. That night, I get a call from the tow company dispatcher. He says the HOA is demanding he proceed with the tow immediately, and Laura is threatening to cancel their contract if he does not comply. I ask him if he has the documentation I requested. He says Laura sent him a new work order with a revised violation date, but it still does not match the notice I was given. I tell him I am filing a complaint with the state if he proceeds, and I am naming him personally. He says he is done with this job. He is not towing my truck. He is canceling the authorization. He hangs up. The next morning, I find a new notice on my door. This one says I damaged common property and I must pay $500 immediately or be charged $50 per day until I do. There is no description of the damage. There is no photo. There is no date. Just a demand for payment and a threat of daily penalties. I check my doorbell footage. Laura placed the notice at 4 in the morning. She is escalating. I call my attorney. He says the association just gave us a gift. The demand for immediate payment without documentation or due process is a clear violation of the state's HOA Act, and the daily penalty structure is unenforceable without a hearing. He says he is filing for an emergency injunction today, and he is requesting a full audit of the association's enforcement records. He says I need to keep documenting everything, because we are going to use this in court. I call Ed. I tell him about the new notice and the demand letter. I ask him if he knows anyone else Laura targeted. He says there is a neighborhood group chat, and a few people have complained about weird fines over the last 2 years. He says most of them paid and moved on, but one guy named Marcus fought it and ended up in a shouting match with Laura at the mailbox cluster. Marcus eventually dropped it because his wife was pregnant, and they did not have the energy. Ed gives me Marcus's number. I call Marcus. I tell him what is happening. He says Laura did the same thing to him in 2023. She claimed he was running a business out of his home, which was false, and she threatened him with a $5,000 fine if he did not stop. He asked for proof. She said the board had received complaints. He asked who complained. She said it was confidential. He asked to see the rule. She printed a copy on the spot and highlighted a section that did not apply to him. He argued with her for 20 minutes in front of the mailboxes, and she told him if he did not comply, she would make sure his family regretted moving in. He paid $1,000 to make it stop. He never got a receipt. I ask him if he still has the printed rule she gave him. He says he threw it away. I ask him if he remembers what section she cited. He says Section 7. Something about commercial activity. I check the CC&Rs. Section 7 does mention commercial activity, but the rule was amended in 2020 to exclude home offices and remote work setups. Laura gave him an outdated version. I tell Marcus I am building a case, and I need him to write down everything he remembers. He says he will, but he is not getting involved beyond that. He says he does not want Laura coming after his family again. I say I understand. I thank him. I hang up. If you have ever dealt with an HOA nightmare like this, hit the like button and subscribe, because we are just getting started. I spend the next 3 days building the case. I print every doorbell clip. I print every service log. I print every GPS screenshot. I print the blank adoption page. I print the notices with the mismatched timestamps. I print Ed's lien record. I print Marcus's account. I put it all in a binder with a tab for each violation. I make 3 copies, one for my attorney, one for the state, and one for the board. My attorney files the injunction request. The judge schedules a hearing for the following week. My attorney also files a formal complaint with the State Attorney General's office, alleging fraud, harassment, and misappropriation of HOA funds. The AG's office sends a letter to the association requesting a full accounting of all fines collected over the last 3 years. The association hires a lawyer. Laura sends me an email. She says the board has reviewed my appeal and they have determined the violations are valid. She says if I do not pay the outstanding fines within 48 hours, the association will file a lien and begin foreclosure proceedings. She CCs the entire board and the management company. I forward the email to my attorney. He says this is retaliation, and it is evidence. The day before the injunction hearing, I get a call from a woman named Sandra. She says she is on the board, and she is not involved in the enforcement actions. She says she only found out about the fines when my attorney's complaint arrived, and she started asking questions. She says Laura has been issuing violations without board approval for at least 2 years, and the board secretary has been signing off on them without review because Laura told him it was routine. Sandra says she wants to help, but she is afraid Laura will retaliate against her too. I tell her I need her to testify at the hearing. She says she will think about it. She hangs up. That night, I check the neighborhood group chat. Someone has posted a message saying I am suing the HOA over a parking ticket, and I am trying to bankrupt the association with legal fees. The post is anonymous, but I know who wrote it. I reply with a screenshot of the doorbell footage showing Laura placing the fake notices. I reply with a screenshot of the blank adoption page. I reply with a link to the state complaint. I say I am not suing the HOA. I am exposing fraud, and anyone who paid a fine in the last 3 years should contact the Attorney General's office. The chat goes silent for 10 minutes. Then 3 people message me privately. They all paid fines they did not understand. None of them got receipts. The injunction hearing is at the county courthouse. My attorney presents the evidence. He shows the doorbell footage. He shows the blank adoption page. He shows the mismatched timestamps. He shows the demand letter with the daily penalties. He shows the email threatening foreclosure. The judge listens. Laura's attorney argues that the violations are legitimate and that I am abusing the legal system to avoid accountability. The judge asks Laura's attorney to produce the rule adoption records. The attorney says they are still retrieving them. The judge asks when. The attorney says he does not know. The judge grants the injunction. He orders the association to cease all enforcement actions against me until the adoption records are produced and verified. He orders the association to provide a full accounting of all fines collected over the last 3 years, including the dates, the rule citations, and the payment records. He orders the management company to restore access to the violation portal for all homeowners. He sets a follow-up hearing in 30 days. Laura's attorney looks furious. Laura looks pale. I leave the courthouse. I drive to the tow yard where my truck would have ended up if the tow had gone through. I find the manager. I show him the injunction order. I tell him Laura Robinson has been authorizing fraudulent tows, and if he has any records of other vehicles towed from Millstone Terrace in the last 3 years, I need copies. He says he cannot release that information without a subpoena. I say my attorney will send one. He says he will cooperate. He says he has had issues with Laura before, and he has been keeping notes. The manager pulls a file from his cabinet. He shows me a log of every tow authorization Laura has signed in the last 3 years. There are 27. I recognize some of the addresses. I call my attorney. He says this is exactly what we need. He says he is subpoenaing the full records, and he is adding the tow company to the witness list. That night, Sandra calls me. She says she is testifying. She says she went through the board's email archives, and she found a thread from 2022 where Laura proposed a new enforcement policy. The policy would give her signing authority for violations under $500 without board approval. The board voted it down. Laura sent it anyway, to the management company, and she told them the board had approved it. The management company implemented it. Sandra has the emails. She is forwarding them to my attorney. I call my attorney. He says this is fraud, and it is criminal. He says the AG's office is going to love this. He says we are adding Sandra to the witness list, and we are moving forward with a full board recall petition. He says I need to start gathering signatures from homeowners who want Laura removed. I say I already have 12. He says get 50. He says that is enough to force a special meeting. Over the next week, I knock on doors. I show neighbors the evidence. I show them the doorbell footage. I show them the blank adoption page. I show them the tow log. I show them the email threads Sandra found. Most of them are shocked. A few are angry. 2 of them tell me they already suspected Laura was crooked, but they did not know how to prove it. I get 37 signatures in 3 days. By the end of the week, I have 62. My attorney files the recall petition. The association is required to hold a special meeting within 30 days. Laura sends an email to the entire community. She says the recall is a personal attack, and I am spreading false information to damage the association's reputation. She says the board has full confidence in her leadership, and the violations against me are valid. She says anyone who signs the recall petition is enabling fraud and putting the community at risk. She CCs the management company and the association's attorney. I reply to the email with a link to the state complaint, the injunction order, and the tow log. I say the only fraud here is the one Laura has been running for 3 years, and the evidence is public record. I say anyone who wants to see the full case file can contact me directly. I attach the doorbell footage. I attach the blank adoption page. I attach Sandra's email thread. I hit send. The thread explodes. 43 people reply in the first hour. Most of them are demanding Laura's resignation. 3 of them are demanding a forensic audit. 1 of them is threatening to sue Laura personally. Laura sends another email. She says the recall petition is invalid because I did not follow the proper procedure. She says the bylaws require a 30-day notice period before a recall vote, and I only gave 27 days. She says the meeting is canceled. My attorney replies to the thread. He says the bylaws do not require a 30-day notice for a special meeting initiated by petition, only for regular board meetings. He says Laura is misrepresenting the rules, and the meeting will proceed as scheduled. He CCs the management company and asks them to confirm. The management company confirms. The meeting is on. The day before the meeting, I get a call from the AG's office. An investigator says they have reviewed the complaint, and they are opening a formal investigation into the association's finances and enforcement practices. She says they are requesting all bank records, all fine collection records, and all board meeting minutes for the last 3 years. She says if they find evidence of misappropriation, they will refer the case to the district attorney for criminal prosecution. She says I should expect to be contacted for a witness interview. I say I am ready. She thanks me. She hangs up. That night, I print the trump card. I have been holding it since the day I found the doorbell footage, but I did not want to reveal it until the perfect moment. The trump card is a neighbor's doorbell video showing Karen trespassing at night near my property. The video is from a house 2 doors down, and it shows Laura walking up my driveway at 2 in the morning on one of the violation dates, checking the street for witnesses, and then placing the notice on my door. She is holding a clipboard and a flashlight. She is wearing the same gray blazer she always wears. The timestamp matches the doorbell footage from my camera. It is irrefutable. I email the proof to every homeowner right before the meeting so Karen walks into an ambush. I send it at 8 in the morning. The meeting is at 7 that night. By noon, the neighborhood group chat is on fire. People are posting screenshots. People are tagging Laura. People are demanding answers. Laura does not respond. She goes silent. The special meeting is held in the community clubhouse. The room is packed. I count over 70 people, which is more than half the homeowners in the association. The board sits at a table in the front. Laura is at the far end, her face tight, her hands folded. Sandra is at the opposite end, looking nervous but determined. The other 3 board members look uncomfortable. The management company portfolio manager is standing against the wall, his arms crossed. My attorney stands up. He presents the recall petition. He presents the evidence. He presents the doorbell footage. He presents the blank adoption page. He presents the tow log. He presents Sandra's email thread. He presents the neighbor's doorbell video. He presents the injunction order. He presents the AG's investigation notice. The room is silent. People are staring at Laura. Laura is staring at the table. The board president, a man named Tom, asks Laura if she has a response. Laura looks up. She says the violations were issued in good faith based on credible reports. She says the rule adoption records are stored off-site, and the management company lost the originals. She says the tow authorizations were legitimate because the board gave her signing authority. She says the neighbor's doorbell video is a privacy violation, and it should not be admitted as evidence. She says the recall petition is invalid, and the meeting is a waste of time. Tom asks her if she issued violations without board approval. Laura says she issued violations under the enforcement policy the board approved in 2022. Tom says the board voted that policy down. Laura says the vote was reconsidered. Tom asks for the meeting minutes. Laura says she does not have them. Tom asks the board's secretary. The secretary says he does not have them either. Tom asks the management company. The portfolio manager says he received the policy from Laura in an email, and he assumed it was approved. Tom looks at Laura. He asks her if she lied to the management company. Laura does not answer. Sandra stands up. She reads the email thread out loud. She reads Laura's message to the management company saying the board approved the policy. She reads the board's email voting it down. She reads the date stamps. She reads Laura's follow-up email telling the management company to proceed anyway. The room erupts. People are shouting. Tom is banging a gavel. Laura is sitting perfectly still, her face red. Tom calls for a vote on the recall. The vote is 71 in favor, 3 against. Laura is removed from the board immediately. The room applauds. Laura stands up. She says this is a witch hunt, and she is consulting her attorney. She says the association will regret this. She grabs her bag and walks out. The door slams behind her. The room goes quiet. Tom calls for a motion to appoint an interim finance committee lead. Sandra nominates a homeowner named Carlos, who is a CPA. The motion passes unanimously. Tom calls for a motion to authorize a full forensic audit of the association's finances. The motion passes unanimously. Tom calls for a motion to rescind all violations issued by Laura without board approval. The motion passes unanimously. Tom says the management company will contact every affected homeowner within 48 hours to issue refunds and remove liens. The room applauds again. I stand up. I ask Tom if the board is going to cooperate with the AG's investigation. Tom says the board will cooperate fully, and the association will hire an independent attorney to review the findings. I ask if the board is going to pursue legal action against Laura. Tom says that depends on what the audit reveals, but if there is evidence of fraud or misappropriation, the board will refer the case to the district attorney. I say good. I sit down. The meeting ends at 9. People come up to me. They shake my hand. They thank me. A woman named Lisa says Laura fined her $300 in 2023 for a landscaping violation, and she paid it even though her lawn was professionally maintained. She says she never got a receipt, and the charge never showed up on her account. She asks if she can get a refund. I tell her to contact Carlos and the management company. I give her my attorney's card. She thanks me. She walks away. Ed comes up to me. He says he knew Laura was dirty, but he did not think it was this bad. He says he is sorry he did not fight it when it happened to him. I tell him it is not his fault, and I am sorry he had to pay for something that did not happen. He says the association is going to refund him, and he is going to use the money to buy a new lawnmower. He laughs. I laugh. He pats me on the shoulder. He leaves. Sandra comes up to me. She says she was terrified to testify, but she is glad she did. She says the board should have stopped Laura years ago, but no one wanted to cause drama. She says she is staying on the board, and she is going to make sure this never happens again. I thank her. I tell her she did the right thing. She nods. She leaves. The next week, the forensic auditor presents the preliminary findings. Laura collected over $42,000 in fines over the last 3 years. Only $18,000 was deposited into the association's account. The rest is missing. Laura cannot produce receipts for the missing funds. The auditor finds 3 cash payments that match the dates and amounts Ed, Marcus, and Lisa described. None of them were recorded. The auditor finds 5 more payments that were recorded, but never deposited. Laura signed the deposit slips, but the checks were cashed at a different bank under her personal account. The board refers the case to the district attorney. The DA opens a criminal investigation. Laura is charged with theft, fraud, and misappropriation of HOA funds. The charges carry a maximum sentence of 10 years. Laura pleads not guilty. Her attorney argues that the missing funds are the result of poor record keeping, not fraud. The DA presents the doorbell footage, the blank adoption page, the tow log, Sandra's email thread, and the forensic audit. Laura changes her plea to no contest. She is sentenced to 3 years of probation, ordered to pay full restitution to the association, and banned from serving on any HOA board in the state. The association issues a memo clarifying the rule Karen weaponized. The memo states that Section 4, subsection C, was never formally adopted, and all violations issued under that rule are void. The memo states that enforcement actions require board approval, and no individual board member has signing authority for fines or liens. The memo states that all homeowners have the right to access their violation records through the portal, and the management company is required to maintain those records in compliance with state law. The memo is mailed to every homeowner and posted on the website. The management company sends refund checks to every homeowner who paid a fine under Laura's enforcement regime. 34 homeowners receive refunds totaling over $24,000. The association removes 2 liens that Laura filed without board approval. The tow company apologizes to 3 homeowners whose vehicles were towed based on Laura's fraudulent authorizations, and the company refunds the impound fees. At the next board meeting, the recall vote is finalized. Laura is officially removed. Carlos is appointed as the new finance committee lead. The board adopts a written records production schedule that Karen cannot interfere with. The schedule requires the management company to respond to all records requests within 10 business days, and all enforcement actions must be documented in the portal within 48 hours. The board also adopts a new enforcement policy that requires board approval for any fine over $100, and all violations must be accompanied by photographic evidence and a written description of the rule being enforced. Tom announces that the association is hiring a new management company. The current company's contract is up for renewal, and the board has decided not to renew it. The new company specializes in HOA compliance and transparency, and they have agreed to implement a digital record system that gives every homeowner real-time access to their account. The new system goes live in 60 days. I get a call from the tow yard manager. He says he is terminating his contract with Laura's attorney, who represented several HOA clients and encouraged aggressive towing policies. He says he is done enabling harassment, and he is only working with associations that follow proper procedures. He thanks me for bringing the issue to his attention. He says he is implementing a new policy that requires photographic evidence and board authorization for every HOA tow. I thank him. I hang up. I get a call from Marcus. He says he heard about the refunds, and he is getting his $1,000 back. He says he is sorry he did not help more, but he is grateful I fought it. I tell him I could not have done it without the information he gave me. He says he is going to use the refund to take his family on vacation. He thanks me. He hangs up. I get a call from Lisa. She says she got her $300 back, and she is donating it to a local nonprofit that helps homeowners fight HOA abuse. She says she wishes she had fought it when it happened, but she is glad someone finally did. I tell her she is helping other people now, and that matters. She thanks me. She hangs up. I get a call from Sandra. She says the new board is working on a community engagement policy that will give homeowners more input on enforcement decisions. She says they are also working on a transparency initiative that will publish all board meeting minutes and financial reports on the website within 7 days. She says the culture is changing, and it is because of what I did. I tell her it is because of what she did too. She laughs. She says we are a good team. She hangs up. The injunction hearing follow-up is scheduled for 30 days after the first hearing. My attorney presents the updated evidence. He presents the forensic audit findings. He presents the criminal charges. He presents the board recall vote. He presents the refund checks. He presents the new enforcement policy. The judge reviews the documents. He asks Laura's attorney if the association has produced the rule adoption records. The attorney says they have not, because the records do not exist. The judge asks why. The attorney says the rule was never formally adopted. The judge asks why Laura issued violations under a rule that did not exist. The attorney does not answer. The judge makes the injunction permanent. He orders the association to expunge all violations issued under Section 4, subsection C from my record. He orders the association to pay my legal fees. He orders Laura to pay punitive damages of $5,000 for harassment and fraud. He sets a payment schedule. Laura's attorney requests a stay. The judge denies it. The order is final. I leave the courthouse. I drive home. I park my truck in the driveway. I check my doorbell camera. There are no new notices. There are no new threats. There is nothing. I walk inside. I sit down. I open my laptop. I check the association portal. My account is clean. 0 violations. 0 fines. 0 liens. I close the laptop. I lean back. I breathe. The next week, I get a letter from the association. It is from Tom. He says the board has reviewed the case, and they are issuing a formal apology for the harassment I experienced under Laura's enforcement actions. He says the association is committed to transparency and accountability, and they are implementing new policies to prevent abuse. He says they are grateful I stood up, and they are committed to making Millstone Terrace a community where everyone feels safe and respected. He signs it. The entire board signs it. I fold the letter. I put it in my evidence binder. I close the binder. I put it on the shelf. I get an email from the AG's office. The investigator says they have completed the review, and they are closing the case with a finding of fraud and misappropriation. She says the DA is handling the criminal prosecution, and the association is handling the restitution. She says they are recommending policy changes to the state legislature to strengthen HOA oversight and prevent similar abuses. She thanks me for my cooperation. She says I am welcome to contact her office if I have any further issues. I reply. I thank her. I close the email. I check the neighborhood group chat. Someone has posted a message thanking me for fighting back. Someone else has posted a screenshot of their refund check. Someone else has posted a link to the new enforcement policy. Someone else has posted a photo of Laura's house with a for sale sign in the yard. The chat is calm. The chat is positive. The chat is moving on. I go outside. I check my mailbox. There is a letter from Ed. He says he is moving to Florida next month, and he wanted to thank me before he left. He says he should have fought Laura when it happened to him, and he is sorry he did not. He says he is proud of me, and he hopes the association stays clean. He says if I ever need a reference for anything, I should call him. He leaves his number. I fold the letter. I put it in my pocket. I walk back inside. That night, I get a knock on the door. It is Sandra. She says the board just voted to issue a formal retraction letter regarding Laura's enforcement actions, and they are going to read it aloud at the next regular board meeting. She says the letter acknowledges that Laura issued violations without board approval, that the violations were based on rules that did not exist, and that the association is committed to preventing similar abuses. She says the letter will be mailed to every homeowner and posted on the website. She asks if I want to review it before they send it. I say yes. She hands me a draft. I read it. It is perfect. I hand it back. I thank her. She smiles. She leaves. The next board meeting is held 2 weeks later. The room is less crowded this time, about 40 people. The board reads the retraction letter aloud. Tom reads it. He reads every word. He reads the acknowledgement of Laura's unauthorized actions. He reads the acknowledgement that the violations were invalid. He reads the commitment to transparency and accountability. He reads the apology. The room is silent. When he finishes, someone in the back starts clapping. Then everyone is clapping. Tom looks up. He nods. The meeting continues. Carlos presents the forensic audit final report. The full amount of missing funds is $42,300. Laura has been ordered to pay restitution. The DA is garnishing her wages. The association expects to recover the full amount within 3 years. Carlos also presents the new budget. The budget includes a line item for legal reserves, a line item for community engagement, and a line item for digital records management. The budget is approved unanimously. Sandra presents the new enforcement policy. The policy requires board approval for all fines over $100. The policy requires photographic evidence for all violations. The policy requires written notice with a minimum of 10 days to correct the issue before a fine is assessed. The policy requires all enforcement actions to be logged in the portal within 48 hours. The policy is approved unanimously. Tom presents the new management company contract. The contract includes penalties for failure to produce records within 10 business days. The contract includes mandatory quarterly audits. The contract includes a community feedback mechanism. The contract is approved unanimously. The meeting ends at 8. I stay behind. I help Sandra stack the chairs. She thanks me again. She says the association would still be broken if I had not fought back. I tell her the association would still be broken if she had not testified. She laughs. She says we are even. We finish stacking the chairs. We turn off the lights. We lock the door. We walk out together. The parking lot is empty. The neighborhood is quiet. The air is still. Everything feels louder in the calm. I drive home. I park in the driveway. I walk to the mailbox. There is a letter from the management company. It is a formal notice that my account has been cleared, and all enforcement actions issued by Laura Robinson have been expunged from the record. The letter is signed by the new portfolio manager. I fold the letter. I walk back to the house. I open the door. I go inside. I sit down at the kitchen table. I open my laptop. I check the association website. The retraction letter is posted on the homepage. The new enforcement policy is posted. The board meeting minutes are posted. The budget is posted. Everything is transparent. Everything is accessible. Everything is working the way it should have been working all along. I close the laptop. I look at the evidence binder on the shelf. I think about leaving it there, a reminder of what happened and what I learned. But I do not need a reminder. I know what happened. I know what I did. I know how it ended. I put the binder in a storage box. I put the box in the closet. I close the door. I am done. The next month, I get a call from a homeowner in a different neighborhood. She says she heard about my case, and she is dealing with a similar situation. Her HOA is issuing violations without documentation, and the board is refusing to provide records. She asks if I can help. I tell her to contact my attorney. I give her his number. I tell her to document everything. I tell her to gather witnesses. I tell her to stand up. She thanks me. She hangs up. I sit there for a minute. Then I smile. Because I know she is going to win. 3 months later, I am refinancing my house. The bank runs a title search. The search comes back clean. No liens. No violations. No red flags. The loan is approved. The deal closes. I am free. I get a text from Ed. He says he is settled in Florida, and he is loving it. He says he heard Laura sold her house and moved out of state. He says good riddance. I reply. I say good riddance. He sends a laughing emoji. I send one back. We stop texting. I check the neighborhood group chat one last time. Someone has posted a photo of the new welcome sign at the entrance to Millstone Terrace. The sign says a community built on transparency and respect. Someone comments that it should say a community that learned the hard way. Someone else comments that it should say a community that fought back. I do not comment. I just read. I smile. I close the app. That night, I am sitting on my porch. A neighbor walks by. He waves. I wave back. He says the neighborhood feels different now. He says it feels better. I say it does. He says thank you. I say you are welcome. He keeps walking. I stay on the porch. The air is still. The street is quiet. Everything feels lighter. I think about Laura. I think about the doorbell footage, and the blank adoption page, and the forensic audit, and the criminal charges, and the probation, and the restitution, and the ban. I think about the moment she walked out of the meeting, her face red, her bag clutched tight, the room applauding behind her. I think about how she confidently read the wrong rules section out loud, and how the entire room turned against her when Sandra read the email thread. I think about how the HOA issued a memo clarifying the rule Karen weaponized, and how Karen was outvoted so hard the room laughed. I think about how a written records production schedule that Karen cannot interfere with is now the law of the land in this neighborhood. I think about how justice works when you fight for it. I finish my coffee. I stand up. I go inside. I lock the door. I turn off the lights. I go to bed. I sleep. I do not dream about violations or tow trucks or board meetings or doorbell footage. I just sleep. And when I wake up, the sun is shining, and the neighborhood is quiet, and there are no orange door hangers, and there are no threats, and there is nothing to fight. I get up. I get dressed. I go to work. I spray for termites. I log the job. I move on. The association holds its annual election 6 months later. Tom runs for re-election as board president. Sandra runs for vice president. Carlos runs for treasurer. All three are elected. A new slate of homeowners joins the board, people who care about transparency and accountability. The old guard is gone. The new board schedules quarterly town halls. They publish financial reports every month. They respond to records requests within 5 days. They enforce the rules fairly and consistently. They do not tolerate abuse. I attend the first town hall. The room is full. People ask questions. The board answers. People raise concerns. The board listens. People propose ideas. The board takes notes. It feels like a real community. It feels like what it should have been all along. I do not speak. I just listen. I just watch. I just appreciate what we built. At the end of the town hall, Tom thanks everyone for coming. He says the association has come a long way, and it is because of the homeowners who stood up and demanded change. He does not say my name. He does not need to. Everyone knows. I leave quietly. I walk to my truck. I drive home. I park in the driveway. I go inside. I sit down. I am done. A year later, I get a letter from the DA's office. Laura has completed her first year of probation. She has paid back $12,000 in restitution. She has 2 years left. The DA says she is complying with the terms of her sentence. The letter is informational only. I do not need to do anything. I fold the letter. I put it in the storage box with the evidence binder. I close the box. I put it back in the closet. I close the door. I am done. I check the association portal one last time. My account is still clean. 0 violations. 0 fines. 0 liens. The portal shows the new enforcement policy. The portal shows the records production schedule. The portal shows the board meeting minutes. Everything is there. Everything is transparent. Everything works. I close the portal. I close the laptop. I lean back. I breathe. I am done. I think about the neighbors who got refunds. I think about Ed in Florida. I think about Marcus and his family. I think about Lisa and her donation. I think about Sandra and Carlos and Tom and the new board. I think about the tow yard manager and his new policy. I think about the AG's investigation and the policy recommendations. I think about the homeowner who called me for help. I think about how one fight can change a system if you fight hard enough and you fight smart. I think about Laura, wherever she is. I think about the doorbell footage and the blank page in the forensic audit. I think about the moment she walked out of that meeting, outvoted and exposed. I think about the memo and the retraction letter and the criminal charges. I think about how she tried to weaponize the rules and how the rules turned on her. I think about how she tried to intimidate me and how I used every tool I had to fight back. I think about how a written records production schedule that Karen cannot interfere with is now protecting everyone in this neighborhood. I think about how the HOA issued a memo clarifying the rule Karen weaponized and how every homeowner got a copy. I think about how Karen was outvoted so hard the room laughed and how she never came back. I think about justice. I think about accountability. I think about what it means to stand up when no one else will. I think about what it means to document everything, to gather witnesses, to build a case, to present the proof, to demand the system work the way it is supposed to work. I think about what it means to win. I get up. I walk to the window. I look out at the street. A family is moving in 2 houses down. They are unloading boxes. A kid is running around on the lawn. The parents are laughing. The neighborhood feels alive. The neighborhood feels safe. The neighborhood feels like home. I think about the first day Laura screamed at me in my driveway. I think about how angry I was, how powerless I felt. I think about how I could have paid the fine and moved on. I think about how easy it would have been to let it go. I think about how many people did let it go and how it cost them. I think about how I almost let it go. And then I think about why I did not. I did not let it go because it was not just about me. It was about Ed and Marcus and Lisa and Sandra and every other homeowner who got targeted. It was about the system that let Laura get away with it for 3 years. It was about the rules that were supposed to protect us, but were used to control us. It was about standing up, not because it was easy, but because it was necessary. I walk back to the table. I sit down. I open my phone. I check the neighborhood group chat. Someone has posted a message welcoming the new family. Someone else has posted a photo of the kid running on the lawn. Someone else has posted a joke about HOA rules. The chat is light. The chat is friendly. The chat is what it should be. I close the app. I put the phone down. I lean back. I smile. That evening, I am walking to the mailbox. A car pulls up. It is Carlos. He rolls down the window. He says he is heading to a board meeting, and he wanted to thank me again. He says the association is in the best shape it has been in years, and it is because I fought back. I tell him it is because he and Sandra and Tom are running it right. He smiles. He says we make a good team. He drives away. I wave. I walk back to the house. I check the mailbox. There is a letter from the association. It is the quarterly financial report. I open it. The report shows every line item. The report shows every expense. The report shows the balance. The report shows the reserves. Everything is documented. Everything is transparent. Everything is accountable. I fold the report. I walk inside. I put it on the counter. I do not need to keep it, but I do anyway. Because it is proof that the system works when people make it work. I sit down. I turn on the TV. I watch the news. I do not think about HOAs or violations or doorbell footage or board meetings. I just watch. I just relax. I just exist. And it feels good. The next morning, I wake up early. I get dressed. I grab my work gear. I check my calendar. I have 3 inspections today. 1 in South Portland, 1 in Westbrook, 1 in Scarborough. I load the truck. I check the GPS. I start the engine. I drive. I do my job. I log the hours. I come home. I park in the driveway. I walk inside. I sit down. I am tired. I am satisfied. I am done. That night, I get a text from Sandra. She says the board just approved a new community engagement committee, and they are looking for volunteers. She asks if I am interested. I think about it. I think about how much time I spent fighting Laura. I think about how much energy it took. I think about whether I want to do it again. I text her back. I say maybe next year. She replies, She says no problem, and thank you for everything. I reply. I say you are welcome. We stop texting. I put the phone down. I walk to the window. I look out at the street. The neighborhood is quiet. The lights are on in the houses. The cars are parked in the driveways. Everything looks normal. Everything looks safe. Everything looks right. I close the curtains. I turn off the lights. I go to bed. I sleep. I do not dream. 6 months pass. The association is stable. The board is functional. The enforcement policy is working. The records are transparent. The neighborhood is calm. I do not attend board meetings anymore. I do not check the group chat every day. I do not think about Laura. I just live. I just work. I just exist. And it is enough. One day, I am at a coffee shop in Portland. A woman walks up to me. She says she recognizes me from the news article about the HOA case. She says she is dealing with a similar issue in her neighborhood, and she does not know what to do. I tell her to document everything. I tell her to gather witnesses. I tell her to contact a lawyer. I tell her to stand up. She thanks me. She walks away. I finish my coffee. I leave. I drive home. I park. I walk inside. I sit down. I think about what I said. I think about whether I should have said more. I think about whether I should have offered to help. I think about it for a minute. Then I let it go, because it is not my fight anymore. But I know she is going to win. Because she has the tools. Because she has the knowledge. Because she has the courage. And that is enough. I think about the system. I think about how broken it was. I think about how we fixed it. I think about how fragile it still is. I think about how it only works if people keep fighting for it. I think about how exhausting that is. I think about how necessary it is. I think about how I am done fighting for now. But I know I will fight again if I have to. Because that is what you do when the system fails. You fix it. You stand up. You fight back. You win. And then you rest. I lean back. I close my eyes. I breathe. I am done. And it feels good. The sun sets. The street is quiet. The neighborhood is safe. The rules are fair. The system works. And I am home. Thanks for watching, and I appreciate you being here.